They rise from the river like gods of stone, two vast kings carved into the cliffs, arms raised, palms outstretched in warning. The Argonath. They mark not just a border but a boundary in Aragorn's soul between hiding and leading. Monuments of the ancient realm of Gondor, guardians of the northern border, and statues of Isildur and Anarion, the sons of Elendil. And in that moment, the ranger is gone. Frodo turns and sees him, not Strider, not the guide they met at the Prancing Pony, but Aragorn, son of Arathorn. Tolkien writes, proud and erect, guiding the boat with skillful strokes. His hood was cast back, and his dark hair was blowing in the wind. A light was in his eyes, a king returning from exile to his own land. It's a transformation, but not just of appearance. This is the first time Aragorn truly allows himself to feel it, to believe it. Here, between the watchful faces of his ancestors, he steps into his inheritance, and slightly faces a lifetime of fear, expectation, and failure. Because no one carries a heavier burden than Aragorn. He is descended from the greatest kings of men, and also from Isildur, the man who failed to destroy the ring, the one whose weakness brought Sauron's spirit back into the world. Aragorn has lived with that shadow his entire life, and here at the feet of Isildur's statue, he is forced to confront it, not with words, but with presence. That is why Tolkien doesn't give him a speech, he gives him a pose. The Argonath are more than just statues, they are a test, because carved into that rock is a silent accusation, one Aragorn has heard his entire life. You are Isildur's heir. You are the son of the man who failed. You are bound to the same weakness. And if you take up the crown, you may repeat his mistakes. So it's no wonder Aragorn hesitates. In fact, just moments after the Argonath, he admits it. You give the choice to an ill chooser, said Aragorn. Since we passed through the Argonath, my choices have gone amiss. It's a striking line, because even as he appears regal, even as Frodo sees the king rising within him, Aragorn is still doubting himself, still afraid that he's not enough. And this is emphasized in the Reader's Companion, where it says, only rarely does Tolkien let us see into Aragorn's mind. He does so here perhaps to stress the difficult choice that Aragorn is facing. This moment between the statues is a turning point, not because Aragorn has already become king, but because this is the first time he truly considers that he might be. He is not yet claiming the crown, he is confronting the possibility of claiming it, and to do that, he must pass between the very symbols of his inheritance, not just the throne of Gondor, but the curse of Isildur. And still, he rose forward. Aragorn is the rightful heir of Elendil, the last in a line of kings stretching back to Númenor. But when we meet him, he isn't wearing that crown. He's wearing a hood. He moves in the shadows, walks under false names, and leads no armies. For decades, he has lived as a ranger, not a ruler, and that is by design. Elrond warned him early, if he wanted to wed Arwen, he would first need to reclaim not just Gondor, but Arnor as well, both thrones, both legacies. Only then he would be worthy. Tolkien writes, she shall not be the bride of any man less than the king of Gondor and Arnor. And so, Aragorn doesn't give up. He waits. He hides, he helps, he leads from behind, but he never claims the title that is his. Not until this moment. The Argonath doesn't give him authority, but it reminds him and us who he really is and who he's been running from. Tolkien calls him a king returning from exile, but it's more than exile from a land. It's exile from identity, because Aragorn has always feared what it would mean to lead, to fail, to become a second Isildur. That's why his internal conflict is so powerful. He wants peace, but knows war is coming. He wants love, but must first earn it through triumph. He wants to guide Frodo, but also knows the fate of Middle-earth cannot hinge on one man's bloodline. And that's the great irony. Isildur once stood at the edge of Mount Doom and clung to power. Aragorn, here at the feet of his ancestor, does the opposite. He He chooses to carry the burden not for glory, but because someone must. Even at the Argonath, where the weight of history surrounds him, Aragorn is still torn between the man he is and the king he might become. Like I've said, there is no speech, no grand proclamation, no sword raised to the sky, just a ranger sitting tall in a boat, passing beneath the eyes of his ancestors. But that silence is the oath, because while Aragorn doesn't claim the throne at the Argonath, he does something more important. He doesn't turn back. He chooses to keep going. He accepts the path that has always been waiting for him. Tolkien writes, "Would that Gandalf were here. How my heart yearns for Minas Anor and the walls of my own city, but whither now shall I go?" That moment of yearning, of honest, vulnerable longing, tells us everything. Aragorn wants to go to Gondor. He wants to claim his city, but he knows the time isn't right. The Fellowship is fractured, Frodo is at risk, and the ring is still in play. So he sacrifices his desire again for the sake of the mission. That's the kind of king he is. Not one who seizes power, but one who waits for the right moment to deserve it. And the Argonath marks that turning point. Before it, he was Strider, the reluctant heir. After it, he is Aragorn, the man who has begun to accept his fate. He doesn't speak it, he doesn't need to, because every stroke of the oar, every glance at those towering faces is a vow. I will not be Isildur, I will be better. But that's just it. The Argonath doesn't just remind us of Aragorn's past though, it does foreshadow his future. Because the man we see in that boat, proud, silent, resolved, is the same man who will one day march up to the Black Gate and challenge Sauron's armies head on. But he doesn't get there in a straight line. From here, Aragorn still faces doubt, loss, and death. He will question himself again. He will walk the paths of the dead. He will risk everything on a desperate bluff, leading a tiny army against the might of Mordor just to give Frodo a chance. But that all starts here. This is the moment he stops running from his heritage and starts preparing to bear it. Even Boromir sees it. I do not know what strength is in my blood, but I swear to you, I will not let the White City fall, nor our people fail. That oath begins to take root here. It's no longer a hypothetical promise. It's becoming real. The kings of old stand watch, stone-faced and severe. They have waited long for their line to return, and as Aragorn passes between them, we realise they are not just warning outsiders, they are watching him. And in that silence, Aragorn makes a promise, not just to the Fellowship, not just to Gondor, but to himself. When that time comes, he will rise. Aragorn doesn't conquer a city, he doesn't lift a sword, he doesn't even speak, and yet the Argonath marks the moment he becomes more than a wanderer, because from here, his path no longer belongs to him alone, it belongs to history. Tolkien writes, "A light was in his eyes, a king returning from exile to his own land." That line isn't just poetic, it's prophetic, because Aragorn will return. He will lead the dead to victory, he will be crowned at Minas Tirith, he will restore the line of kings and marry Arwen, fulfilling both destiny and love in one final act. But none of that would matter if he hadn't chosen, quietly, solemnly, to embrace who he was, here. Between the statues, between the past and the future, between fear and acceptance. Tolkien understood that the greatest heroes don't always declare themselves with grand speeches or dramatic gestures. Sometimes they just keep rowing. They keep moving forward. They rise, not with noise, but with resolve. That is what happens at the Argonath. Not a coronation, not a battle, but the birth of a king. And so the kings of old remained, carved in stone, not just watching over Middle-earth, but silently witnessing the return of one who was worthy. And so, there we have it. So much of The Lord of the Rings is shaped by moments of quiet strength. Frodo stepping forward in Rivendell, Sam taking that first step into Mordor, and Aragorn silently straightening his back as he rows past the Argonath, no longer hiding from his name. Because in that moment, he wasn't just a ranger. He wasn't even a king. He was a man who finally believed that he could be both. But now it is your turn. Did you like today's video looking at a more specific moment from the books, and would you like to see more of these? If you would and you have any particular points you'd like me to look at, just let me know down in the comments below, as this is something I've really enjoyed doing. And along with this, if you would like to support the channel in other ways, please consider our Patreon. You can't always rely on YouTube itself, so this extra support will really help the channel stay strong and keep us getting that content out for you. But with that, thank you for spending just some of your time with me today, and I will see you next time on The Broken Sword.